Hello, welcome to DL Howard Paint. I'm going to do another painting video, but this time I thought I would tackle something I haven't really discussed in the past. My brushes. And most of the time when I paint, I rinse them out and take care of them quite well. But there's sometimes I get distracted and I leave them in my watering bucket. And some of these supplies I've had, surprisingly, for 20 years. Literally, I got this in 2000. And this has been well used, as you can see. I used to keep my brushes on this, but now I don't. It was just easier. So a lot of the times in the video, what you hear when you hear me rinsing the brushes is you actually hear this sound. And I've grown quite used to it that I don't even want to change what I put my water in, because this is almost like a comfort food. It's a comfort sound. So anyway, I will often fill this up. Sometimes I'll wash it out, but I fill it up with some water. Each one, I like it because it gives me a different well, and I can kind of preserve the water. And of course, I can't really show you, but each well is a little bit different. And then this one has like a little gradient that I can rub the brushes on and rinse out and wash really well. I do enjoy that because each brush has a little bit different personality now, or a different need, I guess. Sometimes you can see, I'll put this right there. You can see how the frays are kind of out. There you go. That makes it difficult to use this brush. And so sometimes to preserve or get the shape back, I will re-wet the brush and kind of dampen it. And this is the trick that I use. And I've used this for 20 years. I used to use baby lotion, but I don't use that anymore. I'll use any kind of water-soluble lotion. Watercolors are water-soluble, as are acrylic paints. They're water-soluble, so I keep everything water-soluble, and it's okay to touch water. If it's oiled, it's gonna mess up the paint. So I'm just using any kind of a lotion, and I'll put it into a cup or on a paper towel. And most of the time I like a vanilla scented. I could even use a glycerin or a shea butter. I wouldn't, just because I'd prefer to use that on my skin. So I just get a basic lotion that's not terrible, and I just dab the edge of that, and I just kind of using my fingers, and sometimes I'll use a towel if I need to, just to kind of help mold or take off any excess water. And I just kind of pinch the brush, and I just kind of go back in and shape it and just kind of mold it back the way I want. And if I need to, I can get my fingers with a little bit of lotion on there. And I just want to do it like I would the conditioner in my hair. And that's basically what I'm doing. I'm trying to press down the hair follicles, and so that they dry in place. And I can get a little bit more controlled. This one's gonna take some work. That's what happens when I leave my brushes in the water. And but it can be done, and at least can minimize the frays this way. So that's one thing, and then I place it back in my jar. I've had this jar since 4th grade, 1984, and I've etched on it, and it says, "Don't touch Dusty's glass." And I've kept my brushes in here since then. A couple times I've done a couple different things. Now here's an interesting thing. I must have done something and not really rinse this out, because it's really prickly, and it's not one of the brushes I like to do that. So I'm going to rinse it out, and I'm just going to kind of feel in there and see if it's something hard, and it's not. So it must have just been some dry paint that I just decided to tap, 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 and then didn't really rinse it out. So I'm just going to rinse that out. I'm using my fingers. I am very careful now, more than I used to be, about the contact with the paint. Normally, I would probably do this with a glove, just because it's a little bit safer. And I'm being naughty right now. Old habits die hard. So I'm just using a little bit of the lotion on the outside of this. This is a fluffy brush, and I want it to stay fluffy, but it will get fluffy again. I'm just going to take off any extra hair. Those are not fun to have in the painting, let me tell you. And so I'm just kind of pressing it down. I want to minimize the amount of strays that are coming out on the sides. If I flatten this down, and once it dries, all I have to do is take it and just go like this, and it'll fluff right back up. And so this will kind of help keep the length of this brush, just like that. And then, so I have another one here that you can kind of see it gets quite fuzzy like that. So again, just make sure you clean it, dry it out, pull out as much water as possible. And I'm just going to dip it in the lotion this time. It's very dry. And we go from that. See that? Get it in focus for you. So you can see all those hairs now are a little bit more tame. And so that's my trick for keeping my brushes somewhat tame. Very helpful when you're dealing with a fan brush and you want to keep these. So with the fan brushes, I just take the lotion and I do the same thing, just pressing it in an upward fashion like this. Sometimes I'll fan it out like that to separate the bristles. Once I have a good, make sure that these guys are staying flat and in line. And you can see that the actual wood of this brush has far surpassed the actual bristles. So that's just showing that I'm trying really hard to take care of my stuff. I try, doesn't always work out, but this is how you remedy that. So this is a nice Grumbacher brush and I've got a little stray in there, looks like. So I'm just using my fingers to kind of get things going back the way they want it to be. Far often brushes and these things, they lay just the way they want. It takes a lot of force or like laying in water to go against what they want to do. So it just kind of guiding them back into the shape that they originally came in. And again, just stroking this one upward. And if there's any bristles, like loose bristles, I'll try and pull those out. And then bring it up to the side. And I'm just squaring it out. This one doesn't need a whole lot on the outside. So I just took my fingers and got a little bit of lotion and then pressing it up. So, and that's what I do. With these ones, these liner brushes, they can be a little bit more challenging. So I dip them in the lotion and I literally will take them and just spin as I go up and pulling it out. And I get a little bit better restructuring of that. And then once it dries, it'll kind of hang out in that way. These ones can be a little tricky if they sat in the bristles or the water for too long, because then they can actually bend at the base. So it takes me a little bit of bending backward, wherever that angle is, and just kind of spinning as I release that to the side. And then I get right back where it should be. And then I can just let that dry. Once it's dry, it'll come right back to the same shape it was in. I'm just going to do that to my signing brush and a couple more just so they're done. And then I figured I'd show you really quickly something this one's pretty bad. See the hairs out like that? Okay, so I'm going to just dip that one in lotion all the way. Sometimes I have to kind of press them pretty firm. And sometimes it takes a while. I've actually had to cut some, but see, you can see, there you go. Okay, so now I figured I'd show you kind of what some of these brushes do and what you can do with them. You can do whatever you want with them. I've painted pictures where I've only used like one brush at a time. I've painted pictures where I used like one single brush every stroke for everything I did. So it varies, but you can do amazing things with very little. So I always have kind of a little guide up here to remind myself of what different brushes do. We all know what a fan brush does. And there's different things that, the slanted brushes can do. I always, of course, wet my palette, my watercolors, and put my dish right here. And we're just gonna do just some random stuff. Another little trick I like is these two clips. I've gotten so used to it now that I don't really use these anymore, but when I want to be precise, I can kind of go on the edge here and then pulling this clip if I want it dead center, if I want it off to the right, how low I want to go, I can get my horizon line. This is the trick that artists use for figuring out what they want for their horizon. And I can just take a little marking of paint right there. And I can do that, of course, with pencil. And I'm just going to go like that. Okay, so Let's go ahead and do, these are usually nice little floral brushes. You can do lots of things with them. You can do a wash with them. You can do sometimes big petals, but you can do different things with them. I'm gonna do a little yellow at the top here and just kind of swiggle it out like that. And I'm going to take it down here and just let it blur in there. And then I'm going to rinse that out. And I'm going to take a square brush this time. And I'm going to pick up that yellow and blur it out a little bit more in a squiggly line. I'm going to take it up to the top, do the same. And kind of keep it going out this way and a little bit this way. And any color that I have left, I'm going to squish it out really quick out in here. I'm going to take some blue right in there. See that? And then go right up to the top and rinse it out up there. Again, a little bit over here. And I'm going to wet that brush. Wetting that brush too. So you can see right here, I'm going to wet it down and kind of let all that color come out. Start in the middle and then press it out, rinse it out. Again, back up and pull it out. Now I'm just going to pull the color. Oh, I got something on the, it's okay. That's the beauty of watercolor right there. So taking a towel and just kind of doing that to it. Same square brush. This is going to be my water, so. And that's going to be a mountain now. So I can just take this same brush with this black and just kind of pressing it in over here. And then over here as well. And I'm going to make sure I push out that yellow, because if I'm going to have a mountain there, that yellow doesn't belong. I'm stealing some of that. And this is still all with this flat square brush here. And I'm going to just kind of make another little hill or mountain right there. I'm making mountains out of molehills. It's good. I'm good at that. So, and I'm going to just kind of come down this way. Looks like there's some stuff back there. And bringing it across. I think what I'll do is I'll steal that and make that part of the mountain range right like that. And I'm going to soften this just a little bit. Since that color's in there, I'm going to just kind of steal it and let it glide across with that yellow. Looking good, looking good. Now let's go back up to this yellow in the sky. I'm going to go ahead and change brushes now, making sure I rinse and then I tap it and flatten it out as I do this. That'll preserve it. That's how you take care of it when it's happening. And then I'm going to take let's do this fluffy brush, one of these fluffy brushes. And I've already got a little bit of blue in the sky. I'm going to take this brush and dip it in the well that doesn't have paint in it. And I'm going to rob this yellow and soften it out where it's kind of meeting the edge of the sky, because I don't want that harsh color, or I'll have green in my sky and I don't want that. So I'm pushing downward here and just kind of softening that. And then I'm going to do a little bit of orange with the same brush, really light, corner of that. And just tap, tap, tap in these areas that there is wet paint. And then I'm going to fluff it out. Fluff it out. You're not going to see it. Subtle. And then I can always add more. I'm going to go to the next color of orange. Same areas. Okay. And I think I'm going to actually tap out. And I'm just going to tap. I tapped out the excess water. Don't worry about the mountains. I can go back in. Just gentle. Then I'm going to blend it. Now, too much? No, don't worry about that, because then I take my little towel and I'm going to get up there first, and I'm just going to kind of tap it just like that. These towels are fantastic. in watercolors. So I've got my base. It's just a little subtle thing. I'm going to add a little bit of a defined, oops. I just noticed I have a little speck of orange here. So I'm going to just add a little blue now in there, a darker blue, with this little slanted brush. These are fantastic. They can be used for many details. And so I'm just going to define the water on the mountain range here. And in the back it's darker, so good, good, good. And just like that. Excuse me. So if you pull this way, I start out here in the back with a darker color, and then as I pull this in a slanted fashion here, I can change it in a liner and make streaks like the water going through, just like that. So I did all that prep work underneath. Leave it be, and then just let this pull in. So I pull it from this way, and then I change it this way. Pull, and then pull it out a little further. So just like that. Who cares? That's a cloud. It can be like that. Just like that. I can steal some water from there and pull more color if I need to. Just like that. Beautiful. Okay. Good enough for me. So I can take one of these flat brushes and just make sure that this, if anything is too dark or not dark enough, or just like that, you need to bring that water in a little bit. Beautiful. Okay, so now we're going to do a quick tree, and I'm going to show you the fan brush. So fan brushes, of course, and everybody's seen how these work, but you want to, it's a little tricky when you're doing it with watercolor. So I always go with like a light color first, and then, so I'm going to do some yellow and kind of a weird greenish color, and I'm just going to kind of go right here. So I've got kind of green on one side and then yellow on this side. And this is the lighter. So I'm kind of doing the highlight first. This is going to go all the way down. Okay, just like that. Now I'm going to go in with a dark green. And then I'm going to kind of go up here. So I'm just kind of dancing around, and it's very good, more dense in the middle. So I can kind of build up here. And then just like that. Okay. And you get the idea. Anywhere there's a little bit more need of a darker, I'll show you exactly what you do for that. We're going to grab some of this black here. And I'm just kind of give it a little illusion of the branches back in there. A little bit more dark. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with that right there. So I'm just stuffing some little tree back there. And just like that. So anywhere there was like a yellowish, I'm trying to kind of tap in there And it's like a reverse highlight. So there's just a little area right there. And up in there. So one thing I like to do is add little wispy things. And so I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of a dark black and green and just kind of, nature has this all over. And looking good up in here just a little bit. Looks like there's a little bit of a rock kind of structure that just appeared out of nowhere. It's a miracle. It's a nature miracle. And I just tap in there just like that. And I think, I don't usually do this once I get done with the sky, but I'm going to take one of these fluffy brushes that's kind of blue, and I'm just going to, I have a little bit of this light blue and a little darker blue here. I'm just going to kind of go up and tap in a couple places. And it makes no sense right now. And then I'm going to rinse that out, and then I'm just going to blob in some paint in places. Trust me, I know it's freaking you out right now. It's okay. It's all right. Just let it be. And I'm going to quickly dab a little purple. I like putting purple in the sky. And where there's really dense color, leave it there. Leave it there. Quick, quick, quick. Quick, quick. I'm going to spray it. Don't get that. Don't get that. And I just wiped it all out. Now I'm going to take that brush again. There we go. Okay. And now I'm going to take this dry, fluffy brush, and where all that's going on, the dripping, I'm going to let it drip, but I just want to swirl it right there. Keep it right where it's at. Just like that, nice and soft. Till it dries, just work with it. Which reminds me of egg color dyeing. Okay. Done. Call it good. All right, thank you for joining me today, and I hope you enjoyed painting again with D.L. Howard Art. I'll go ahead and sign this, and we'll be done. So I hope you learned a little bit about brushes today, or not, and just paint whatever heck you want. And this is still my favorite signing brush. It's labeled signing brush. All right. Ready for the big reveal. And there we go. As you can see, there you go. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy.